Welcome back to my channel, guys. This video is going to be about why cryptocurrency is the greatest opportunity that exists in the world today, and very few people realize this. But the point of this is to show what markets cryptocurrency will address. And every once in a while, I like to do one of these broad videos that covers, cryptocurrency in a broad overview type of viewpoint. And this video will cover why cryptocurrency goes beyond just Bitcoin. There's a lot of people that are obsessed with Bitcoin and they think that's the only relevant innovation from cryptocurrency. I think that's false. And why cryptocurrency will inevitably eat the world. Some people have heard me say that a lot. I do say it often. Cryptocurrency software, in a general sense, software will eat the world. This includes virtual reality, simulations, asset mapping, etc. And cryptocurrency is one of those technologies that will help in acquiring these markets. And cryptocurrency also is it's a toolkit, it's a methodology, it is it's just a technology for allowing the all these different market segments that were not possible without cryptocurrency. So let me just dive right into it and why cryptocurrency could make people rich. By the way, cryptocurrency is an instrument for you to invest in and potentially do very well from that. And so that's what I mean by the cryptocurrency is a vehicle for, I think it's one of the best vehicles in the world for potentially getting returns. All right, so let me just get into it. So we're talking about the subject of cryptocurrency. So what is it that cryptocurrency really is? It's predictable, tamper-proof code execution. That is what it accomplishes. Some people say it is just a simple ledger, an expensive ledger, but what they don't really understand is that ledger has a purpose. And that ledger that these cryptocurrencies agree on is that they have these expensive ledgers. What they do is they offer predictable, tamper-proof code execution. Now, what do computers do? Computers are perfect devices for computation and automation. Okay, so it's simple stuff, guys. The people who don't understand that these are expensive ledgers, these expensive ledgers allow for predictable, tamper-proof code execution or automation. Okay, so automation is one of the big, powerful components of cryptocurrencies, or in computers in general. Computers will automate the world, software eat the world, etc. So it's just part of why that ledger is expensive. So we have on top of that is a service provider or ownership. Token coin must be essential part of. So we're now what I'm doing here is I'm going more into detail on what is a high ROI prerequisite. The goal of this video is to show why you can get rich from crypto and why you should care at all to own it. Not only will it change the world, make the world a better place, but as an investor. This is from the viewpoint of an investor, someone looking for an ROI. Crypto will change the world. There are many projects that will change the world, but if you can't make an ROI from investing in them, you don't care about them, unless, obviously you do care as a bystander that the world will be a better place. But what this video is generally aimed at is investors. So the tokens or, the projects that we are looking to invest in have to be a service provider. And by the way, I'm going to put a disclaimer right now. Everything I say here is for educational purposes. I am not a financial advisor. These are all things that I personally practice and research and execute. So it is mostly, these videos are for my own records and also for just education in general. Anyways, they have to be a service provider or ownership to the service provider. So a service provider is just like any company or entity that provides a service. And whatever it is you're investing in must be ownership of that service. And so it can be a token or a coin, and it must be an essential part of that service provider. So if you can remove the token and the service provider can still exist, the token is useless, or the token or coin or whatever. So look at whatever the entity is that you're looking at and see if it has, if the token is an essential component of the service provider. Now, what we're looking here is for a higher ROI. It has to obviously be a prerequisite of that. Okay, so now, what do these digital things do? They're digital scarcity, ownership, instruments, okay? So as we've mentioned before, in this predictable, tamper-proof code execution environment, we have a service provider that is tied to the higher ROI asset, which does digital scarcity. So the digital scarcity is it is a segmentation, okay? So whatever the we're talking about broad concepts here, and it is just a discrete individual units that exist within this computer environment, this predictable tamper-proof environment. So now there are two major branches off of digital scarcity. There are equal value segments and there are non-equal value segments, or NFTs. Non-fungible tokens, what that means is each one is different and unique. This one means each unit is exactly the same. So this would be like dollars and this would be like IDs, etc. So I'm going to go through the fungible token section, the equal value segment section. So what can we do? What markets can be addressed with equal value segments? Well, there's a lot. We can do revenue access of the service provider, which is dividends or token burns. So this could be entitlement to revenues that a business entity have taken into. Like, so it could be ownership of a service provider and access to those revenues. It can be entitlement to those revenues. So that is like almost like an equity or stock or some instrument, a digital instrument that accesses revenues of a business. And so that is one component that a equal value segment can be entitled to. It could also be votes. The segment tokens could be votes that you can buy. So you can buy votes if you're putting capital up, that means you want your voice to be heard, and that entity is saying is valuable to you. Then you could buy in and participate in a group of people who have pooled their money together to execute a governance function with votes being tied to these fungible assets. And you can also reward people with these based on actions, etc. All right, and there's another thing you can map. Computer resources. So it could be throughput, it could be RAM, it could be processing, it could be basically throughput or memory. So you can bandwidth, computations, etc. Even software. You can get entitlements to those computer resources through these tokens, and a token could be backed by computer assets. You could also do threshold actions in the real world. So that means if I hold 100 tokens, it'll unlock a car or it'll unlock a business building or etc. So, it could be something like that. That is another value. That is another potential market for these, equivalent segments. And we can get real world assets as well. Contracts, real world asset contracts based on, like threshold actions. It could also be real world contracts with the contracts of humans behaving in paper, like the contracts we have today, paper legal agreements that also have threshold actions. So you can do governments or businesses that collaborate with these digital representations, and software validates. So the software validates, that's the blockchain. It is the expensive ledger, so to speak, that allows for this software validation for real world contracts, and you could trust it to be predictable, tamper-proof, etc. So that is the branch, this little branch, and you could think about how many different market segments that these will do. And remember, this replaces the old system that we have. So governance, like the way we run our governments now on paper, blockchain will allow for it to be done through a digital means because it exists, once again, in a predictable, tamper-proof environment, which was not possible before blockchain. Okay, and so hopefully you can see why crypto is going to go far beyond Bitcoin, and it's going to eat the world. It's part of that narrative of software will eat the world. These type of software environments will eat the world. All right, now we're going to get into the non-equal value segments, NFTs. And these the type of market segments that can be affected by that. So there's two real branches off of the off of NFTs. We have the digital realm and we have the real world. Let's go with the real world first. So in the real world, we can get contracts that are digital physical merge, which is you can get entitlements to revenue, titles to buildings, assets, etc. That is ownership. So you have like an individual business with its street, etc. could have a title that could be an NFT. You could also have a business building, revenue, etc. And you could also have legal backing. You will need legal backing for these NFTs to be valid. So a government that embraces cryptocurrency will probably become more powerful more quickly because they will be able to merge with new technological advancements, new business models, etc. As we get artificial intelligence, as we get businesses that operate on software that are more efficient, these kind of governments that accept that crypto is here to stay and start embracing it, will have legal backing. And we could see the NFT smart logic that based on contracts in the real world that would make powerful business models that could potentially exist. We could also do real world actions. Once again, like you could have a motorcycle that only unlocks to your palm or your wallet or your etc., and it'll only unlock when you the owner show up, and it will not unlock when someone else has it. So these real world actions could be a powerful part of this NFT environment. So NFTs could be thought of IDs, etc., because they're unique. Each unit is unique. Whereas like we went over, each one's the same. NFTs, each one's unique, which kind of means each instrument can be entitled to unique small revenues, titles, buildings, real world actions, etc., or IDs, etc. Now let's go over the digital realm. So one thing that it could potentially do is discrete code entitlement. So if you know about programming, there's something called libraries and modules and tools. So if someone writes a bunch of code, that code could be encapsulated, and then that code could be wrapped by an NFT and be a service provider code for people to use it. So this guy over here could use this code, get he could own the NFT entitlement to this code and get the product or whatever out of it. So so it's basically just imagine someone's code being an NFT, and then anything it produces, any entitlement to it, you will need the NFT to have access to that discrete code. And so some of the things it could do is revenue for the code, right to use the code, or rights to modify. So it could be, that could be a powerful component. And, a lot of these things are mind concepts. So a lot of these things could merge together too. You could have a code that's revenue that affects the real world, etc. But what I'm hoping to show you is just how broad and how powerful this technology could be and in its reach. All right, another thing. So we talked about discrete code from the digital realm. Now let's talk about credentials. So if you have credentials like an ID, like the NFT could be an ID, it can give you access, proofs. Now, this could be powerful as well. It could be proofs such as skills, social status, riches, education, etc. So whatever access proof you want, what you have to prove that you have some position in society, a skill, whatever it is, whatever you could prove, then you can get an NFT for that proof. And then that NFT will allow for code authorization in the metaverse, in art, in real-world actions, in governance, and in employment, etc. So it could allow for automatic employment actions, entitlements to computer databases because you have an NFT for a certain employer, entitlement to a business building, a business servers, etc. So you can have automatic actions from that, and it will also read into a database, so you'll know exactly who's using what authentication where. Once again, remember, all of this stuff is in a predictable, tamper-proof code environment that is not possible without blockchain. And anyone who tells you otherwise is lying to you, because in a centralized server, these things cannot happen. All right, and so that's the employment environment, and then you could also have governance. Like maybe in the real world, democracy doesn't work well because everybody has an equal vote. What it should be instead is weighted votes based on people who have professionality. So if I was a person who is specialized in water sanitation, I should have a heavier vote in an FDA regulatory environment affecting water. Or if I'm someone who knows about fuel or transportation, etc., I should have weight in voting actions in that relevant industry. So that could be a powerful potentiality in governance models. But obviously humans are far from having efficient governance models. But you could see how these code authorizations based on proofs could be a powerful concept. And also real world, this could also be for businesses as well. So employment could be the same thing as businesses, etc. So all of these could be different things. And real-world actions based on these proofs. So all of these are derived from proofs. And art, you can be the one who generated art. You can get the rights to the art, so it'd be like a whole entire movie. And you can have, potential revenues from that movie or rental access to the movie, or even the rights to future revenue or modification of that art. And also the metaverse is going to be huge, and this is going to be a big one for work and play. And so the blockchain will drive the metaverse. It will be the background of it. All right, guys, so hopefully this shows you why exactly software will eat the world. And all of this is not possible without cryptocurrency. It's not possible without that quote-unquote expensive ledger. You need the expensive ledger to do this because it creates that service provider. It creates that that predictable tamper-proof code environment. So once again, this is why cryptocurrency is the best environment to get rich, because cryptocurrency right now is about an $800 billion in all cryptos is about 800 billion, and it's going to go to 400 trillion or more. Now, I am once again, this is not financial advice, but all the world's assets will be eaten by these business models, and even the stocks, they will move on top of blockchains at some point. There will be a company that will allow for that transition at some point. Why? Because it can. Existing in these quote unquote expensive databases allows for automation, automatic actions, automatic dividends, automatic voting, governance, etc. And it allows for more programmability to all of these entities without having to write explicitly for each individual entity as in a centralized server environment. If you have a centralized server environment, which is what we have today, you have to get like an individual, or it just gets very complicated to try to do the automatic actions, because you can't get everyone to agree on the same protocol and the same standards, etc. But this blockchain technology will allow for it. So once again, this is going to eat the world. This is the greatest opportunity in the world, and I wanted to just do a broad-based video, because right now everybody's doom and gloom. I don't give a damn if this bear market is logical. I know humans are more likely to behave on fear, and we're going to see crypto go from this 800 billion to 400 trillion over my lifetime. And I'm willing to bet that that's going to happen. And there's very few people that understand it. So if you do understand it, if you understand this field, particularly getting involved and learning about it, you can have access to one of these huge market opportunities in building it out, and potentially access to this great transition that is underway. And very few people are aware of it. All right. So hopefully this video is educational. If you like this kind of content, please like and subscribe. I hope to provide non-biased information. I am biased because I love crypto. I know it's powerful stuff. And there's always risk to this, so just keep that in mind, and keep that in mind as you research this stuff. And this is not financial advice. This is just information purposes only. All right, later, guys.